Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. I have a viewer who wrote me an email, a fairly long one. I'm going to try to summarize it a bit, but it's Kushagra Garg. Hope I'm saying that right. And he's basically wanting to know, he says he wants to buy a mirrorless camera, APS or 4/3. Budget is $700 to $900 for both camera, including the kit lens. So we do have some budgetary limitations there. Don't want to make photography as my profession, so not buying extra lenses after buying camera, so I always use the kit lens. We'll see about that. A lot of people say that, and then they end up realizing they like photography, and those other lenses are addictive and enticing. Let's see. So he wants to know what will give the best image quality, best colors, fast autofocus for photos and video. He says, I also prefer 4K, but not compulsory. So we're starting to get a lot of requirements for a very minimal budget, but I think we can still hit it. But 4K video taken by 4K looks excellent on my display compared to non-4K, even though it says his display is not 4K. Sensor shift is a plus. Cameras having auto exposure bracketing with 5 or 7 frame are better for him, he says, for generating HDR. You can also do HDR manually more. You don't there's other ways around that. Anyways, my preference is Samsung NX500, but if there's a major difference between others regarding quality, then I'll buy that one. So the NX500, he's saying, does 4K. Now, the NX500 is not a camera I can speak to from having used it. He's got his other listings for options. First of all, is Samsung NX500, A6000 from Sony, A58 from Sony, A3000 from Sony, the G7 from Panasonic, and the LX100 from Panasonic. Now, as I mentioned, NX500, I don't have much experience with it. I think it's a decent camera, but I don't think it beats Panasonic in autofocus from everything I've seen. That alone probably would be my reason to stick with what I have purchased. Out of your list, I will go with the G7. I'll tell you that right off the bat, because value for the money, I don't think you can beat it right now. For a 4K capable camera, great image quality camera, great lens system, and just a really nice camera all around. It has a lot of features that other ones don't. The focus system is incredible. The touchscreen, tap and shoot, full control. Doing video, I'm looking at the iPad right now, controlling the camera. All these things are just amazing. The G7 is like a baby brother to the GH4 and does a lot of what the GH4 does. So that is why that's my recommendation, because you can get it with the kit lens for $799. I think maybe it's even been on sale for $700, or probably will be coming up for Black Friday and Christmas. So the NX500, that's why I would take the G7 over it. And again, the caveat there, I haven't shot it myself, but it does seem to be a lot of agreement online that the focus system is not on par with Panasonic's. Sony A6000, rule it out, doesn't have the 4K, doesn't come with as good a kit lens as you get on the G7. The A58 and A3000, same problems, older cameras too, and larger. I would rule them out for that. Panasonic LX100. Now this is a little caveat there. I've had the LX100, shot with it for over a year. Love the little LX100. I wanted to go back to an interchangeable lens camera. This is one of the big reasons I really like the G7. And it has some features the LX100 does not. So that was a big thing for me, the audio input to put in an external mic. So I would go with the G7 over the LX100 for that reason. If the LX100 really does interest you and the limitations of it versus the G7 aren't a problem, I would have no problem saying go ahead and get the LX100. It's just there are some advantages to the G7. And I'm not sure what the price on the LX100 now is right now. It might have come down to the point where it's on par with the G7. It originally was not. But you can change lenses on the G7. I know you're saying you're not wanting to, but down the road you may just even want to add a fast prime for some portraits or something, and you can. You can't do that on the LX100. So that's my reasons. Out of all those, I will go with the G7. You guys, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Disagree? Leave some comments below. Do any of you guys have firsthand experience shooting the Samsung NX500? Does your experience on par? Does it comply with? Are you in agreement with what I said about it, or is it different? Leave some comments below. Let's discuss it. And there we go. So G7 is my opinion. What do you guys think? Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.